And we're off to the races, like I normally say. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another almost famous radio podcast with yours truly, your host, one of a kind, thank God, right? Jim Francis Mesa, the only one, the one and only, brings you each week. I try to bring you nothing but the best, colorful stories from every corner of the earth of people doing incredible things, folks that can, basically play every instrument. As such is the case for my next guest. He hails from Hamburg, Germany, okay, but he originally was born in Portugal, and his name is the one and only metal goth rock star, Mr. Daniel
There we
Laureano.
are.
Hey, my
Hello.
God, dude, that is pretty cool, man. Your last name is a mouthful, but I got it. I did it. I nailed it.
And you got
What's
it
up,
in
my
a
man?
very, very, very perfect way. That was great.
Almost. That's why it's called almost famous, almost perfect.
You're pretty
Hey,
much there.
man,
You're pretty much there. I gotta say.
thanks. I also meant to say you have a side project called Moon Shadow, right? Moonshade.
It
It was a
not
rock.
exactly. So that would be the main project from a couple of years ago, right? I was
That's
part of
awesome.
that band. The guys are
Yeah,
still rolling on, but I've
that's
since
beautiful. You were part of that
completed some
band.
things.
That's cool.
Not for
That's
sure,
so
for sure.
cool. I mean,
Great years.
because a lot of your music is influenced by also, I mean, it's a never evolving thing that happens, but funny enough, every band we're a part of, or look at me, I'm also a musician. Every band, tends to influence the future music, right? At times takes a little of whatever you guys created or you know um with you, and then it materializes into crystallizes into something new. Now you are right now as we speak, you have Halls of Alabaster, which
Yep.
is pretty phenomenal. And I gotta say, it strays away from the goth metal. It's slightly different, right? How would
Mhm.
you characterize this new album?
Yeah, so it's definitely an evolution, I'd call it. If you'll allow me to just go back for one quick second to just say thank you so much for having me here, because it is a big pleasure to be talking to you.
Oh,
Also, because this is actually the first time that I'm having a recorded interview made by someone in the United States, so it's my debut on the American market, if you will. And
nice.
it truly is a pleasure to be talking to you and to be seen by all of you, all of the fans of your channel. So once
Thank
again,
you.
appreciate it. I do appreciate you having me here. And
Um,
yes, a constant
go ahead.
storm, my project, the one that's basically, I could be recording music using and releasing it using my own name. That would be no different than using the name of Constant Storm, but it is indeed like the artistic name of the project, if you will. And Halls of Alabaster is the most recent album. Yes, it has been released for. It was released just over a month ago. And I'd say the main difference, when, like, if you listen to everything that I've made up until this point, every single album has been different, and that was kind of the goal from the start.
Intentional, right? It was intentional, yeah.
Totally intentional. I created this project when I was like 18 years old, and
19 to be
I'm
19 to be right. That says here 19 years of age.
yeah,
Storm,
yeah. Well,
I think it was Stormborn, right?
exactly. So the project was created when I was 18, and then the first release was a couple of months after I had turned 19. And so I'm 30 now. So it's been like some 12 years of music, and
You're an
from the
old man,
start.
bro.
Yeah, it has to be now. And from the start, the thing is, I wanted to create something that was kind of like I often use the term sandbox, because what I wanted to do was to create something where I could be, where I could move freely through whatever it was that I would like to create. And the band that influenced me to do that, and they're like the biggest spiritual influences of this project, if you will, are a Norwegian band called Ulver, who also started like as a black metal band, moved on to do a bunch of different things: trip hop, electronica. They made a classical symphony, even synth pop. It's completely insane. And
Wow.
but while keeping their identity, they flow through all of those musical genres while keeping that identity. Because I do firmly believe, just as they do, that the core of a music composer is doesn't it doesn't need to be stuck to a certain genre or a certain way of doing things. There's more subtle things that define it.
Hmm.
And I do believe that I've kept it throughout. It's been the goal for sure. This one sees me venture into the realms of contemporary folk music, if you will,
Yeah.
massively influenced by American and Canadian music as well, and the age of piracy has been one of the biggest influences for this album. You have some sea shanties here and there, some moments that would be kind of akin to a Leonard Cohen or Nick Cave, who is Australian, of course, but kind of fits the bill. Mixed with progressive rock, which was something that was already present in the previous album, and that one was a bit darker, a bit more gothic, and this one is a bit more luminous, put it like that.
Yeah.
I think that's how I would describe it.
We're unpacking, aren't we? It's a lot of good stuff. So, um, yeah. So I love the title for your band, The Constant Storm.
Mhm.
It's great. It's like we're living in stormy times, right? And
There we are.
we're living in the dark ages almost. It's crazy stuff happening every day in our world as we
Mhm.
know it. And it's uh it's interesting that your the name of your band kind of it encapsulates so much. I love it. A constant storm. Like if I had to think of a band, Rage Against the Machine, you're going against the government, against
Yeah.
the grain, and then along comes a constant storm. Did you think of that all by yourself? Like one day you go, you know what? I'm gonna go with a constant storm. Also, the idea of you called it earlier evolution, if you will, evolving, you know. Was that something you thought of all on your own? Like, you know what, I'm just gonna go. It just completely sort of this kind of defines who I am as an
Mhm.
individual, as an artist. You know what I mean? As
Yeah.
one of those things, because I don't know, for some reason I get the feeling that that's how it came about.
Yeah, for sure. Evolution metamorphosis, even I think we could call it. Yeah, again, like the idea back then was this, and I think this is probably the best way to introduce this. This was never meant, or at least at the start, I didn't think it would become like a real thing, put it like that, right? I had learned guitar. I had been playing guitar ever since I was like 10 years old. Started with acoustic, classical guitar, whatever. And then for
Unbelievable.
a number of years, what I did was to do covers on YouTube. I listened to my favorite metal bands, rock bands, gothic bands, and just kind of developed my skills as a guitar player. Mostly, that was like the central instrument for me. And at a certain stage, I just, for whatever reason, thought, yeah, could I write something? And I started writing some songs, and that was September 2013. From September 2013 to the end of the year, to the end of December, I started, like, I wrote some 6 or 7 songs that were like pretty terrible, honestly, when I listen to them nowadays. But they were kind of the foundation for all of this to start. And
Yeah.
and this is the point where I get to answer your question, which is, there came a time then at the start of 2014 where I said, okay, I feel like I could try to do something and like name it, and create a Facebook page and create a YouTube channel and all of that. And the first and I had done like a photography work for class, because I studied audiovisuals, and I was doing photography at the time, where I had taken some pictures of a black flag next to a big pile of rocks next to where I live, because my house in Porto is right next to the ocean, and kind of a stormy day, and the very notion of storms had always been something that had fascinated me, because like when you think about it, a storm is a very aggressive thing, a very strong
Powerful,
climactic,
passionate. Yeah.
yeah, passionate, powerful, destroys the earth, but then also purifies it in a way. So it's kind of part of that big cycle of renewal that life has to go through, right?
Like an
And then,
alabaster, right? Something smooth and You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
kind of. I mean, yeah, that's what it morphed into, right? But at the start I was doing more black metal stuff, so it was a bit more aggressive. And then the thing is, I then named the project the Portuguese word for storm, a Portuguese word for storm. It's vendaval. But I kind of, and I liked that at the start, but I kind of thought it was a bit tacky. And then this is like the truth of it is, I settled on a constant storm for, I don't even really know why constant. Storm was a reference to a project, a black metal project that I really liked called
Okay.
Storm, so I knew it couldn't
Yeah.
be just Storm. And then constant came. I don't know. I think I pulled it out of nowhere. And
Love
it's
it.
interesting that we're talking about it in
Yeah.
this moment, because I recently discovered, if Google is, I'll put it like that. If the limited amount of French that I know is enough to go by, a constant storm is actually kind of a Charles Baudelaire quote, because Baudelaire wrote a constant storm, or one constant storm in French, in a poem. And so if I want to sound if I want to sound a bit more eloquent in the future, I can use that. But it actually wasn't thought as an homage to him. But I found out recently that that I suppose it is. But then it just made sense. Storm, obviously, that storms have always fascinated me. Constant in the sense of being constantly changing, ever evolving, metamorphosizing. And I
Metamorphosizing.
kind of settled on that, and it went
Wow.
on from there. Yeah.
Now you play a number of instruments, right?
Yeah,
You're
I
very
tried to.
yeah. You try. You play guitar. You play bass also.
Yeah.
Drums. What would you say if you could do it all over? Would you play bass as opposed to? Well, you play everything in your band, so maybe that's not the right question for you. But would you have picked up a bass instead of a guitar, looking back first, or are you glad you played guitar? I mean, because I know some people enjoy bass playing better than guitar, but they're excellent guitarists nevertheless.
Mm. Yeah, those two are sister instruments,
Right.
obviously. Each
Hmm.
one of them with their own identity, and
Exactly.
I'm definitely not someone who thinks that all bassists are, or all guitarists are good bassists or whatever. There are some specialists that are really fantastic and utilize the instrument and all that it can bring to the table. I myself am actually, I enjoy playing bass a lot. It's really fun for me. But I'm
It
quite glad
is.
that I discovered the guitar in the first place, because it's an instrument that has allowed me to build from there. I learned composition and writing music through the guitar, and still to this day, even though I see myself more as a composer than a guitarist, it's still my main method. It's still the instrument where my musical language, if you will, flows the best. I I obviously think I could have, I would have massively enjoyed bass if I had picked it up first. But the way things went, I'm happy that the guitar was the first one. Put it like that.
Yeah, I'll say I'm happy as well because hence you got some amazing riffs and freaking powerful chords, dude, in your
Thank you, man.
composition. So hats off to you, man.
Thank
Um,
you.
Daniel, I want to ask you something. Your band, right? Why not work with the band with the group of band members?
Mhm.
Do you enjoy like kind of a solo project, as it were, a one-man band versus a group of an ensemble of people, if you will, or what's the rationale for that?
I like that. I've been in both scenarios, right? Because
Right,
there was this band Moonshade
right.
that I joined. Shout out to them, by the
Hmm.
way.
Good
I'd be
stuff,
happy
dude.
to,
Good
yeah,
stuff.
I'd be happy to hook you up with one of the guys if you'd like to have one of these conversations. I
Sure.
think they would enjoy it as well. I joined them in 2015, at the start of 2015, and ended up leaving midway through 2020. So I stayed in the band for like 5.5 years. And during that time, Constant Storm and Moonshade both coexist, right? So I got to we played a number of shows including some, we played with some very important bands. We opened shows for Amorphis, Within Temptation. We played
Okay.
with Omnium Gatherum, Heaven Shall Burn, Destruction, Garia, our friends here from Portugal. So we toured, we did the whole thing, and released an album together, the band's debut album, Sun Dethroned. Which is obviously a moment of it's the point where that album came out was also a moment of massive pride for me, and doing the whole band thing was very, very rewarding. But it also it also showed me that, and when you want your creative vision to be realized, if you're in a band, you have to make compromises, and that's part of being in a band. I'm not saying that's bad at all, but
No,
that works in that context. But for
it's a
stuff that's a
caveat.
bit
That's how you
more,
go in knowing, you understanding that, right? Sorry to
it
cut you
has
off.
to be, yeah, it has to be the case, because then what comes out is a combination of everybody that's in the band, right? And so for me, not having a solo project was out of the question. I could have both, and I could balance both. Maybe I'll balance being in a band in the future again, but. There came a point then where COVID had just happened, so there were some tensions in the band, and we had a talk, and we decided that I just wasn't my head wasn't in the right space at the time, and I wanted to do different things. I wanted to move away from the metal side of things, and hopefully truly transform my music into something that could transcend the labels and stuff. That came at the cost of some sides of the whole touring life and playing concerts and stuff that kind of wore me down a bit, to the point that even 5 years later, I think I'm still trying to recover from some things. It showed me, yeah, obviously there's then other things that come up. I then moved to Germany 2 years after or a year and a half after leaving the band. I'm married as well, so I want to spend time with my wife, do stuff. It's the most important thing in the world for me. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's really one of the most important things in the world for me, along to making music. And I got to a point where I can make music, created, small audience. We know the way it is, but a loyal one, which is something that I really, really do appreciate. And being here, also having a great job that I love doing. So, I'm successful at it. So
Good.
I think, to try again to answer your question kind of a roundabout way, I would say that the whole concert and band life right now isn't for me. It hasn't been for me for some years. It could be in the future. I don't know. I see it as unlikely at this stage.
Right. Let me ask you, congratulations on your marriage. I am also a married man. Does your wife share, thank you. Does your wife share your passion for music, or does she like a whole different genre of music? And that's clearly not a deal breaker if that were the case, right?
And it
was she a
isn't.
fan? Was she a fan? Did you marry your fan?
No, we're both no. We've actually been together for 10 years at this stage. So we've known each other for like a third of our lives, and we're both music fans, both metal fans originally, and then gothic fans, post-punk, whatever good music.
I know it all, bro.
We like a lot of the same types of music, and that's so music is also a big part of our life. So that's obviously very, very good. And she's helped a lot with Halls of Alabaster too. The whole layouts of the album. There's like a room that was created in 3D, and she was the one who made it. She's an architect, and she works with 3D models as well. So she helped me a lot. Filmed me in the video for the Ballad of Captain Flint, and another video that's coming up.
Great gig, man. Great. I like it. It's a far cry from, I think, your initial roots, but then it that was meant to be. You said essentially that's what you set out to be different and evolve, because we evolve as humans, and sometimes it's okay for some people to divorce from their the original kind of the layout, the original where you started off versus where you are today, or you find yourself today. Where do you find yourself, speaking of which, Daniel, in terms of the bands of today? I'm talking about more American bands.
Mhm.
Which ones were your first influences, if at all, and where is metal these days? Where are we with metal? Or is
So
that
we're
new life maybe?
yeah, right now, like the scenario for metal, and again, I always want to make it very clear that I am a metal fan for sure, but I'm a fan of so many other things that I've only think I called myself a metalhead for like the first 2 or 3 or 4 years of my musical journey, because I, soon realized that there's so much color to music and so much color to art. But obviously,
Okay.
my roots are in metal, and I still listen to it a lot now, these days. Metal has always kind of been in a weird spot, right? Because it's a genre that's um, where you have the most loyal of fans, but who sometimes also can be a little narrow-minded in their definitions. Those people.
Like it's marginalized a little bit
Yeah,
in olden days anyway.
yeah, of course, and it's like a genre where there's so much camaraderie, so many beautiful things, but then also so much narrow-mindedness when it comes to artistic visions. And those, like, you have obviously the paramount example is Metallica. That band that's sold so many albums. Not that that's an indication of music quality all the time, but in their case, I do believe it is. And the fact that they've taken chances has made them, mega successful to a bunch of different audiences. And even though, I mean, like, it's, you listen to Load and Reload or stuff like that, those are great albums. I love those albums. And still you have people that won't even give them a chance just because they're not thrash, or they're not like the technical variety of what people want to hear.
Right.
That sort of narrow-mindedness is what bugs me. To give you, like, to just put a small insert here, a lot of people from some older fans of A Constant Storm, or I put it like this, people who have been with me kind of from the start. Some of them are like, yeah, but you could go back to doing death metal and black metal with Storm Alive, because that album is, because they like that album. And I'm like, and I also think, I like that you like the album. Of course, it's great. It's something that I did. I'm very proud of it. But don't expect me to do it again. I could do 7 Storm Alives. Like, that would be possible, but what would be the point? Because it would just dilute the original one. It wouldn't bring anything new to the table. So, that's the problem with metal, is kind of the same as it has always been, mentality. You have a lot of people who are forward thinkers. You
Hmm.
know, European bands, Ulver, you got your Enslaved, you got a bunch of bands who really push the envelope. And you got obviously your American titans like Metallica, like Testament, like
Oh,
Nevermore,
New
which
Testament.
are one of my
One of my
absolute
favorite.
favorite bands.
Me too.
And yeah, I mean, they're just
And all these
phenomenal.
bands are not, for the most part, not to cut you off, Danny. You're right on. More to your point, it's true. A lot of people, they want it to be like the beginning, like Right the
Yeah,
Lightning. They want it to sound like that,
yeah,
basically be a linear kind of thing, and never part ways with the original sound, if you will. One A lot of folks, it's funny that you mentioned thrash, because it's really thrash metal and it's not heavy metal. You
yeah,
know, um, a lot of people think it's heavy metal, like Metallica. It's metal. Yeah, it is. But it's more thrash metal, like Testament. You finished nailing it. Anthrax, bands like that. They're all kind of have within the same vein. Pantera, even.
mhm,
I think if you think of heavy metal per se, it's more like Judas Priest. Wouldn't you agree? And the Sabbaths and stuff of that nature. Maybe some of Deal's influence with Sabbath. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, and I think that over time, most of these bands have kind of parted ways with the original thrash sound, right? They've evolved.
yeah.
Even Megadeth evolved a little bit, just a little bit. I mean, I think that was the one that stayed kind of true to the sound, but
Slayer, right?
yeah.
You got Slayer. They kind of
Slayer,
diverted
dude.
for a bit, but then got back to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the point. These names that we're mentioning are household names, really. They're
Hmm.
big bands, and they're for a reason, because not only were they there at the start, but they were able to stay relevant. And the thing is, and that's the thing that I feel sometimes people and those more hardcore fans have a hard time coming to terms with, is you don't reach other levels, even artistically and in terms of music composing and performing, if you always do the same thing right? And obviously the world is chock full of examples of bands that always did the same thing. AC/DC wrote the same song
Over and over
400
again.
times, Motorhead, and it works, and I like them as well. But I find I
It's like a
tend to
one-trick
be
pony.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and like the thing is, I tend to be way more interested in bands that take risks, because when you take risks, obviously that's not guaranteed that the risk is going to pay off. Sometimes bands take risks, and what comes out isn't that great. But they have taken that risk, and they have tried it, and they have, and that's something that's worth a lot to me. And
Hey,
that's
what
kind
about? Go ahead.
yeah. No, I just wanted to say don't want to presume to know about. I want to try to make it. Keep this thought that I've never been to America, though I plan on visiting someday. But I've
Look
always
me up
been.
when you're out here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I do, and but the thing is, a lot of people here in Europe, and especially from the time that I was born in '95. I got the whole MTV thing in the early 2000s. A lot of my references are American too, and you get the way that I speak. I speak with an American accent, where it would be much
Yeah,
more
more
easy.
so than German or Portuguese even.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
because that's the thing. I actually learned English before we started having English at school, because we don't dub things around here. So we got a lot of well, in Germany we do, but in Portugal we don't. So I listened to a lot of American English being spoken and cartoons and all of that. And so even to the point where I can say American culture has shaped a lot of the cultural references that I have. But this is a prelude to the answer to say, I don't presume to. Obviously, I'm not American. I have an opinion on what I see and how I feel like the American society is. But that spirit, that American spirit of always trying to better yourself, of always, trying to do something for yourself and to evolve, get to a point where you feel more realized with what you're doing, is precisely the type of spirit that I feel is so important in artistic creation, musical creation. And, funnily enough, it's the spirit that all of these big bands have and have shown and have shown that they have it. And so
Fantastic.
why wouldn't one value that? That's the part
Well,
that's hard for me to understand.
here's the deal, Dana. You hit the nail on the head when you said artistic. The
Yeah.
artistic quality of any artist is to be an ever evolving creature. You're moving forward. You continuously create. The creativity stops when you reach a point where this is where I stay here and this works, and it becomes the same old recipe over and over again. That does work, mind you, but
Yeah.
the creativity is curtailed. At that point, it's stymied. It's no longer. You're not going to go beyond where you're at now. And people do get, like, you get the bands that at some point reach a level where they plateau, and if you will, and then they don't grow beyond that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone reaches a certain snag, but then you get up from the rut, and then you continuously get creative, and you move forward, and you take those risks, like you said.
Of course.
And yeah, I mean, every band, I mean, yeah, not there's so many bands that have taken risks. Like look at Aerosmith with Walk This Way. They kind of created new metal with that
Yeah.
Run DMC,
True. True. Yeah.
and they
Absolutely.
break through the wall. You know what I mean? Like all the symbolism behind it. Totally,
And
bro.
Anthrax, right? You mentioned Anthrax. They had that cooperation with Public
Them
Enemy, I
too.
believe, for "I'm the
Public
Man."
Enemy, Chuck D. Yeah,
Yeah, Chuck D,
and,
exactly, and this was
and then
just
you
like
have Led
massive.
Zeppelin.
Yeah, Zeppelin.
You
Yeah,
got Led Zeppelin. I mean, doesn't it get any better than that? What is
yeah,
it?
for sure.
Time Maker? Uh, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't got
From Houses of the
three. Yeah,
Holy.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's fantastic,
amazing.
but it's far from what Led Zeppelin is to most of us. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, or
Yeah,
the Immigrant Song. I mean, whatever. We could go down the line. Let's get back to you. Your
yeah.
music delves into just the melancholy atmosphere and intensity, and what emotions or personal stories are you channeling through the music?
So, trying to focus it on Halls of Alabaster specifically. This is an album that kind of chronicles my moving from Portugal, where I had lived my whole life until I was 27 years old, to Germany, to experiencing a different place, and in a way that, and again, I know that you guys in America, you have like 50 different countries in one, kind of like. So if you move from the
Yeah.
West Coast to the East Coast, I'm sure you can find some sort of you can relate to what I'm saying. But the thing is, here in Europe, our distances are shorter, but the differences are extremely big. And so moving from Portugal to Germany is quite a big difference. Something about myself is that I actually studied in a German school when I was younger, so I already knew German. Obviously, that helped, and that that played a role in coming here. But basically, yeah, you move to a different country. You have my wife and I. We had no one here, so we met. So we came here, both of us, and we were really each other's rocks. All of our family was left in Porto, our friends, and we've created new ones here ever since. But at the start,
Good.
it's a very rewarding experience, but it's also very taxing emotionally. And you go from those ecstatic highs where you feel like you're really achieving something, and you're getting to live something that a lot of people don't even do, because a lot of people just stay in their places, right? Which is totally fine. And I don't want to talk badly about those people, but like, we had the desire to go somewhere else. But there's also those moments where where you're just feeling down, and you just feel like you want to be home again. See those shores, and see and feel the warmth of the place that saw your birth, really. And with A Constant Storm, a very important thing is that I metaphorize everything, because what I want is for people to listen to the music and realize that their own experiences can be put into that as well. That's the way people relate to things. But ultimately, the place where it all comes from, lyrically and thematically, are my own experiences. That was true for Ant, Live Empire, Storm Alive, and Stormborn, the previous works, and it's true for this one as well. So my life, the things that I see, the things that I think, the things that I've experienced, are a big part of what I then write about. And that's very important, because it's a very direct connection between me as the artist and then the work that I create.
Fantastic. Daniel, I'm hearing you out. What particularly do you think is, or which song in particular would you say is your personal favorite in this album, and why?
It's extremely difficult, obviously. When you write songs, every single song is like your baby. So
Right.
it's very hard to choose one.
Okay.
One that has surprised me ever since I recorded it is "Hymn to the Sleep Deprived," because that's actually the song that's been micro blowing up, if you will. It's my most
Good.
streamed song. I'm
Congratulations, bro.
very thank you, Dust. I'm just very happy with how that song came out. Really, it's and especially I do wanna give a big shout out to the two people that helped me create this album, Philipp Teichert and Jan Philipp Meyer, the producer and the drummer. And
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
specifically in him, like, Jan's drumming is out of this world. He just never stops. This is a fantastic drummer, Polish German drummer that I met here in Hamburg, who is just a great guy and an unbelievable drummer, really. But there is also a song called "Coming Home," which where I really wanted to create something that was
I heard a snippet of it. It's good. It's good.
yeah, it's meant to be emotional, right? It's meant to evoke those feelings of, like, that the Voyager in this album, and the story that this album kind of portrays, coming back to his home for the first time since in my case it was like 4 or 5 months at the time, but in the album's case it's undefined, and just again, smelling the water, the sea salt once more, and feeling the sand below your feet, and just watching the place where you had always lived for the first time in a
Transformative
while.
years, right? Your transformative years. For
Absolutely.
sure.
But then seeing it, and the ecstasy of being there again, and being in a place where you really can fully be yourself, but with all of the experiences that you've acquired through your recent adventures. And that's a very important part of it, which is, when you leave home, And then when you come back, you're never the same person again, which was kind of the point, right? Because the whole idea of moving and trying to experience new things is exactly so that you become someone different, someone with more, that has seen more of the world, and that's a very important aspect. Is time never moves backwards. You always you get to go back periodically to the place you came from, but
It's only
and yeah, and at some
melancholy.
point we'll live there again for sure. But in the meantime, there are other things to do. But those things that you have with yourself now, and all of that that you've won and that you've gained through your experiences, they stay with you and they make you someone that's more complete, hopefully.
Fabulous. Let me ask you this: if someone's to listen to A Constant Storm, I'm talking about as a whole, all the different albums. Which song would you say, for the first time, which song would you recommend for them to listen to, or which album for that matter?
It
And why?
it may sound like a cliche, but I do really believe that Halls of Alabaster is probably the album that's the most complete version of what A Constant Storm is. And hopefully I'll be saying that about the next album and the next one after that, because that's kind of the goal. But I truly do believe, I'm very proud of what I did here. I'm also very proud. I have to shout out Lava Empire. Lava Empire is an album that that was released 5 years ago, the second full-length album of the project. I'm still to this day so proud of that record. So it could be complicated. I could go for something from that album, a song like Pendulum Heart or Pyramid at Sunset, Pinboard even. Those songs are iconic for me, for my own kind of
Yeah,
personal. But I would probably say one from Halls of Alabaster. Which one? Hard to say. The Ballad of Captain Flint is like the natural single, so that's a song that I would probably recommend for someone who wants to have like an easier starting point. Or maybe Hymn to the Sleep Deprived, because it really combines a lot of features. It is like a progressive rock song with kind of a sea shanty vibe, but it does have like a sort of hardcore punk like or metalcore breakdown at the middle part with some staccato riffing and stuff, so some metal comes inside. So yeah, and since it's been my biggest micro hit, let's call it like that, I'm gonna say Hymn to the Sleep Deprived.
awesome. Let me ask you this: what was your first album you ever picked up as a teenager?
um I don't have I don't have one. I have like four. Because
Okay.
I started listening to music because of the Scorpions. I listened to Wind of Change for the first time,
Oh
and when
yeah,
it was like 10 or 11, and that changed my life.
I
And then
saw them
that
4 times. I've seen them four
yeah. Same.
times.
I hope you don't get jealous of this, but I actually was here. They played their 60th anniversary show in Hanover like 2 months ago with Alice Cooper and Judas Priest
Get
in
out
the
of
building.
town.
Well,
I
yeah,
met I
and
met Alice Cooper before. I met Alice
yeah,
before.
I mean,
What a
his
great
concert was
ensemble.
amazing.
Judas Priest, Alice Cooper. That's real heavy metal there.
Yeah.
And the Scorpions. Like kind of
Celebrating their
like
60th anniversary, man, in a stadium with 40,000 people. It
oh
was
mother of
brutal.
God.
It was amazing. I loved it. But yeah, but full albums. It was because of my dad. Because my dad has a really big record collection. He's also a music fan. And once I started listening to Scorpions and Iron Maiden, that song "Dance to Death," I then asked him, yeah, like in the middle of those albums, what do you have that's like heavier? And he gave me four that still to this day are some of the most important records in my life. Master of Puppets by Metallica, Comb of Souls by Creator, so another German band, and then
Mhm.
two albums by Judas Priest, being Killing Machine and Stained Class. Those four records, along with that Scorpions, those couple of Scorpion songs that I already listened to at the time, Iron Maiden, some stuff that you'd listen to on MTV, which I still love, Green Day, System of a Down, stuff like that. Those were my first big loves. And so just to get back, you asked me what American bands I love. I'd say, Green Day, System of a Down, Metallica, those were very, very early bands for me. obviously Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, Testament, Exodus as well. You got
This is good.
Morbid Angel, Dio.
More like
Those were
death
very
metal.
Nevermore
Morbid
and
Angel.
Cynic. Those were very, very important for me.
There's a
So like,
Carcass, Slayer, Sepultura, bands like
yeah,
that.
all of
Wow,
them.
this is
And let
dude,
me shout
gothic.
out
What
just real
about
quick.
goth? Go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to shout out real quick a band that's been a massive, massive influence for me, also American. Like it's this gothic experimental project called Faith in the Muse. They are brilliant, and I also love them.
Very cool. So what goth bands did you grow up listening to? Do you like goth? Like Christian Death and Susie and the Banshees and was it Death Can Dance, or if I
Yeah,
remember
well,
correctly, The Cure, sorta.
yeah, I mean, like Dead Can Dance are my favorite band of all time.
Mhm.
I've started listening to them at a like a later stage, so I started getting into goth music by the time I was like 19, 18 to 19, with Dead Can Dance, and then later Bauhaus, Susie, and
Mhm.
then The Cure. You got here Fields of the Nephilim, Sisters of Mercy. I
Oh
think
yeah,
I've already.
Sisters of Mercy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah, and then also this newer wave of European bands like Sorra Dolorosa, like Ritual. Oh yes, Ritual Howls, American band again. One of my absolute favorite bands from like ever. I've discovered them 6 or 7 years ago. If you haven't heard Ritual Howls, do yourselves a favor. Do
Okay.
yourselves a favor. They are brilliant. They are brilliant, brilliant. They're a
Yeah.
brilliant
It's
band, and
incredible,
I
huh?
yeah, recommend everyone to listen
What
to
about
Ritual.
Tool, bro? Do you like Tool?
I love Tool.
How
And a
about
perfect.
Maiden? How about
Yeah,
Maiden?
Iron Maiden. Yeah, obviously as well. Yeah, yeah. Like I'm a big, big fan of Iron Maiden. They were right there at the start for
I've
me
seen
too.
them a lot of times too. I can't get enough of them. My wife and I are huge fans.
Oh,
My
they're
man,
great.
it's been unbelievable. We went past the threshold. We normally go up to 35, 40 max.
Of
I
course.
think I've one part. I think one show I did almost an hour. Um,
Mhm.
let me ask you this: you ever heard of Edge of Paradise? I just had those guys and they're unbelievable. They're touring. You get a chance, listen to them too. Edge of Paradise. The girl's
Can't
name
say
is
that I have, but I definitely
Margarita,
will.
Margarita Monet. I just uploaded the episode. They're fantastic. Another great band, Frantic Romantic. A shout out to all these guys. Sweet Corvette and and I got another the baby goats. It's a good
All
friend of
right.
mine in the baby goats. Check out all these bands, man. They're coming up out here, and especially Edge of Paradise. That's kind of on a whole other level of the tier. But I wanted to take this time to thank Paula because I know through Paula, your eyeballs went straight to the interview, and thank you, Paula and Marianne, because Marianne's really the linchpin that kind of brought this whole thing together and to realization, if you will. I'm just so happy and content and beyond blessed to know you, bro. Daniel, I know there's a couple of hiccups there on my end. We couldn't make it happen, but we finally did.
I don't worry
Um,
about that.
and may keep on rocking in the free world, bro. I mean,
Thank
until
you so
it's
much.
not free anymore. Well, I don't know that this world is spinning too fast for me. A lot of new things are going on, and they're not all necessarily good. But
No,
the constant storm, bro. I gotta tell you, dude, I love your sound, bro. And this just new Halls of Alabaster. I'm gonna watch the whole thing, consume the whole thing, binge listen to, for sure, bro. And yeah, there's nothing else. Thank you so much for coming on. Uh,
thank
Daniel Laureano, guys, that's my show, Almost Famous Radio Podcast. Jim Francis. Hello and goodbye until we meet again. Anything else you want to say? Oh, wait. Your social media handles, far forget.
you. Yeah, of
Super
course.
important.
Of course, of course. So if you can follow me, you got Instagram, Facebook at a constant storm. And then, the normal stuff. YouTube, stream my stuff on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, whatever is your favorite streaming service, because all that helps. If you want to buy CDs or merch, I still have a couple of shirts left, not too many, but you can find me at aconstantstorm.bigcartel.com or aconstantstorm.bandcamp.com, or rather, bandcamp.com/aconstantstorm. Those are my official stores. I want to thank you, Jim, so much for being my for letting me do my American debut. in terms of recording interviews, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again in the next album cycle if you have the
For
chance.
sure, we'll definitely have to, right? Do this again, and then when
Thank
you
you.
come out in LA, we'll do one in studio. What a treat talking to you, bro. What a treat. Thank you so much,
Thanks for
Daniel.
so much.
You're a gift to the world, dude. Keep on rocking in the free world, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
our show.